Greetings, Admirals. This is the Sarcasm Detector coming to you from over the North Pole in the Sol system. In today's video, we will be taking a look at the fleet variant of the new Hestia Advanced Escort Tier 6. To start off this video, we're going to be taking a flyby around the ship and its predecessor, the Prometheus Advanced Escort Tier 5. Following that, we are going to take a look at the ship's stats and discuss a build or two that I am running on the ship. Then we're going to take a look at a few different shield visuals. Then take the ship into a PvE run or two. And then finally, at the end, the final verdict on the ship itself. As you can see here, I have both ships side by side, the Hestia and the original Prometheus, which is currently captained by my friend Alan from ZEF Films. The original Prometheus also got a model update recently when the Hestia was released, and it looks a little bit closer to what was shown on TV on Voyager. The Hestia itself is a very nice looking ship. It got a nice upgrade to the 2410 visuals. Very nice quad nacelles that are very similar to what the command cruisers, the command battle cruisers have. And actually, if you look very closely, the Hestia actually has 5 nacelles. There is a 5th one at the top of the saucer section, and typically when you're warping out or warping in, it will be extended, but for some reason the actual animation doesn't always play. It is very interesting when it does. The ship looks absolutely fantastic, very sleek. But now let's take a look at its stats. Let's get straight to it and take a look right away at the masteries initially. So it comes with the standard escort package, which is accuracy, defense, kinetic and all energy damage, plus a little bit of critical chance. Only has 150 crew, but remember, the lower the crew, the better. My power transfer rate is a little bit low for what I usually like it at. It's at 15.3. You can probably push this to 20 by adding a console here and there. It's not really that big of a deal. Hull is about 66k. Defense bonus actually goes up to about 107%, which is really nice. 10k and a half per shield facing. Resistances are real good, especially if I hit my aux to structural integrity. Bonus accuracy 23%, 25% critical chance. Critical severity is a little bit low. That can be changed. Right here I'm running the tachyokinetic converter. In its place, I could run the bioneural infusion circuit. So I would lose a little bit of turn rate, but get structural integrity and critical severity in its place. And this is really a personal preference. You could run something else. For example, you could run the actual console that the ship comes with, which looks like it's pretty interesting here. Some damage resistance, plasma and tetrion, some extra weapon power, plus the Firebringer, some exotic plasma damage. It is interesting. I personally am not too interested in it right now, so I'm just leaving it off the ship. Flight speed and turn rate, about almost 52 degrees per second. So it's quite maneuverable. You can see here, this is the gear that I'm running, so damage 3 pens at epic quality all the way around. The Iconian resistance set, the full 4-piece. I got a energy amplifier plus the armor catalyst, plasmonic leech, conductive RCS with EPS. And this is a flow cap build. You can actually go with a particle gen build and it'll work really well on this ship, but there is a particular reason why I went with flow caps. It does a little bit less damage, exotic damage, but in the end it does help my weapon systems out, and we'll get to that in a couple of seconds. Specializations, of course, Intel primary, pilot secondary. Here we come to the traits. Personal traits, ablative shell, beam barrage, pretty standard. Coalition starship tactics is really good. Elusive for a little bit extra defense. Fluidic cocoon, inspirational leader, very expensive but kind of nice. Intense focus. Particle manipulator, point blank shot. And that's it. Actually, I really don't need the particle manipulator since I'm not doing a particle gen build. How much is this giving me? 18% and 9.2. The only exotic damage I have is this guy, which is pretty negligible. So in replacing that, we can probably put in a little bit extra power. Does not hurt anyone. Let's take a look. That didn't even... oh, here we go. Alright, not bad. Starship traits, all hands on decks, emergency weapon cycle. Greedy emitters. This is why I'm running the Titan's Rift here. So every time I trigger Titan's Rift, for 10 seconds I get reduced weapon power cost, extra power, immunity to power drain. Very useful. Proof pedal to the metal. And that's it. I've dropped my regular reciprocity build for this. The idea for me is for the ship to run with my tank friends. What's been happening recently is a few people I know have gotten really good at aggro tanking, and they have completely broken my aggro tank builds. So this is a little bit of a remedy for that. Hopefully it does really well, and in fact it does really well. Space traits. So critical chance, critical severity. I have both the defensive Nukara trait and the offensive one. So this one gives me, as you can see, 4.5% all damage, a little bit of accuracy, and almost 18 kinetic damage, all damage, hit points, a little bit of shield. This goes up as my auxiliary power goes up. And some armor penetration. You can probably drop this in favor of something else. Enhanced engines is really good in that spot for a little bit extra speed and turn rate. Maybe shield pen. This one's actually pretty useless, but again, it is personal. So let's take a look at the stations and the Doff layout that I have here. The ship comes with 3 tactical stations, a commander, a lieutenant, and an ensign. And usually this is pretty bad, especially with modern ships. That useless tactical ensign has been replaced usually with a universal. In this case here, the build that I'm running, the ensign is actually quite useful. First of all, it lets me run 3 Romulan SRO officers as a Fed, which is a nice little boost to DPS. Plus, I can run a double ZMOC beta build. What this does, so I have 2 ZMOCs here and a single copy of attack pattern beta 1. This reduces the cooldown of beta to 20 seconds, which synchronizes with FA. FA, of course, is 20 seconds, 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and the shared cooldown is 20 seconds. 2 copies of chemosite-laced weaponry. No Oxtabat needed, no reciprocity needed. This all runs like clockwork. 2 copies of emergency power, 3 in 1, and a little bit of a heal here. This is, of course, a hybrid seat, an engineering lieutenant commander that doubles as well as a command seat. I'm not using command at the moment. If there's a possibility that something useful might fit in there, I might do so in the future. But currently, this is a half decent setup. Lieutenant Commander Science for a little bit of healing and support. So here I'm running Hazard Emitters 1, Transfer Shield Strength 2, and the Tychon's Rift 2. Now, this is a build I'm running here for generally pugging and going against enemies like Borg that don't do a lot of debuffing, so no clears are really needed. That's why I don't have either a science team or an engineering team. Running the double ZMOC, of course. Agent Rule, fantastic in this setup, which gives me heals when beta is active. Running 2 deflector officers here for the reduced cooldown on Tychon's Rift. I'm not completely convinced these guys are doing too well. Each one is a 25% chance to give a 50% cooldown. All hands on deck is running, so that does help out. Quartermaster here for cooldowns on the batteries here. Now, if I'm running against heralds or enemies that actually have a lot of debuffs and require clears, well, it's a very simple process here. Instead of emergency power to weapons 1, drop an engineering team 1 here, put this back to emergency power to weapons 2, and here I just swapped this. I put in a hazard emitters 2 in here and a science team 1 in this spot here, and probably swap the 2 deflector Doffs for maintenance engineers, which are these guys here. Recharge time reduced for engineering team and buff. Very useful when you're going against heralds, very specifically, and even Tholians. They do help out. So this is the basic setup I have on this ship. Like I said, people are a little bit upset about that third ensign here, the ensign. It's really a choice. It does allow for some interesting builds, and looking by this, you can tell it's a classic build, apart from the chemosites. In the past, we would have probably run some torpedo skills in here. Probably high yield 1 and 2, torp spread 1 or 2, something along those lines. Even though at this point, this can still be done. And instead of, for example, running Fire 12-3, put in a Torp Spread 3, put in Fa 1 here, or Fa 2 here, and put in a torpedo. Torpedoes have been making a comeback recently. There are some really good ones. However, I personally am avoiding running them because there are some problems with them. There is a combination of abilities that do cause quite a bit of lag, and that would be stuff like the neutronic torpedo with torp spread and chemocyte. Chemocyte is particularly bugged and does have some issues where it causes lag, especially if you have multiple copies of it. So for the moment, I'm staying away from the torpedoes. But if you are interested in that sort of thing, the neutronic is very good. The Omega Plasma is a very good torpedo that seems to be making a comeback now. The gravimetric, of course, very nice torpedo. But again, these are personal preferences. Some people will look at this and say, oh, he's running a beam build, Fa, how boring. Again, you don't have to run the exact same build I'm running, or even anything similar to that. This ship actually excels at running cannons. There's something called the pin and spike build, where you would run here a gravity well and dual heavy cannons, turrets in the back. Fantastic. What you do is you hit your gravity well, bunch up all the enemies, then you do a cannon scatter volley and just annihilate them in seconds. It is absolutely glorious to watch. You can even add a torpedo spread with, say, a gravimetric torpedo. It kills things significantly faster than a beam build does. So it does massive amounts of spike damage in a short amount of time. Doesn't do good DPS, but it does kill things really fast. That is something to consider. One thing I've been wanting to test out, I don't have the resources for it at the moment. Hopefully in the future I can gather a little bit more, but running a Tetrion build. So with the upcoming episodes, the Cardassian revamp, we will be seeing some resonating Tetrions, and they come in, of course, dual heavies, turrets, beam arrays, dual beam banks. I've been wanting to actually test this out. And of course, Tetrions work fantastically well with flow cap builds, since flow caps gives them a nice boost. What I'm missing is the actual tactical consoles for Tetrion and the dill to upgrade the weapons themselves. So this might have to wait for a couple of months or even longer. I might not even ever have the resources for it, but it's something to keep in mind. Maybe some of you guys out there, or gals, watching this video might find a interesting idea and try it out and actually let me know how it works. So enough of this for the moment. A very good looking ship. We're gonna jump in and take a look at the different shield visuals I have available for the ship and how they actually look on it. The current visuals that you are looking at is the stock visuals that the ship comes with, the Hestia, when you unbox it. The first shield we're going to be looking at is the Iconian Resistance Shield. Next, the Delta Alliance Unimatrix Shield. The Mako Resilient Shield Array. The Aegis Covariant Shield Array. The Nakura Crystalline Resilient Shield. The Riemann Prototype Covariant Shield. The Dielectric Oscillation Resilient Shield, otherwise known as the Breen. The Dyson Regenerative Shield Array. The Jem'Hadar Resilient Shields. And finally, the Counter Command Covariant Shield Array. Next, we're going to take the ship into a couple of runs to see how she performs. So there you have it, a fairly decent ship. That was a fairly interesting ISA run. I think the ship got about 71k DPS out of it, which isn't a superb monstrous DPS ship, but keep in mind this isn't a build that is optimized for fighting Borg or for fighting ISA, so it did really, really well. Pros and cons of the ship, final verdict. Pros, it is very versatile tactically. I like the fact that it has 7 tactical seats. You can put in quite a variety of weapon systems, tactical systems in there. You can do pretty much whatever you want with it. I like the fact that it is a little bit survivable. It has some tanking ability, not that much. It is very supportive. It does have enough science seating to be a little bit sciencey, not too much in that regards either. The cons, though, here's the thing. I really wish they had given it an intel seating instead of the command. Heck, even a pilot seat would have gone great. I'm not sure why they went with the command. Personally, not gonna run any kind of command powers on here. Don't really need it. Others, though, it is a personal preference. Some people might find it useful in that regards. It might actually be really good for torpedo builds now that I think about it. So, it's not much of a con. The other thing is that ensign, a lot of people wanted it to be universal to keep up with the more modern ship types. It's not much of a con. It does allow you to run 3 SROs, although, having that option to put in a science ensign or a engineering ensign in there would have given it a little bit more versatility. Now, just one thing I didn't show here is the separation. Unfortunately, I do not have the original Prometheus, so I cannot show you the separation graphics. However, what I will do is I will ask one of my friends that does have it to make a video, and I will include the link here somewhere. There might be a card popping up here in the future. Final verdict on the ship. I give it a very solid 8 out of 10. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, give us a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and remember to share with your friends. Have yourselves a good evening.